listen, and you're welcome to Daily Connect. This edition of the Daily Connect, we're having a conversation on what is going on in the Middle East. I'm specifically talking about Israel. You know, for from October 7th till now, there have been several school of thoughts about the war, and for that matter, we're having a inside conversation with the Israeli ambassador to Ghana, Her Excellency H.E.Shlomit Sufa, to give us a clear view and picture of what is happening. You might want to stay with us as we take a quick turn, or we can delve into the conversations. Please stay. Hello again, and thank you for staying. At this point, we just delve into our conversations right after. But then like I introduced, the Israeli ambassador to Ghana, Her Excellency Mrs. Shlomit Sufa, is with me here for the conversations regarding what is going on in Israel. Her Excellency, you're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Georgina. It's a pleasure to be here with you and to have this share our thoughts and ideas with your audience at home.
I hope that everything is fine here and back home as well.
Well, everything here is fine, of course. Back home, the situation is far from being fine. There's a very strong speech by the mayor of New York, Eric Adams, and he basically repeats the same line. He says, "We are not all right. We are not all right, and we haven't been all right ever since last Saturday, October 7, 6:30 in the morning, where Israeli South villages, kibbutzes, and other localities were raided by thousands of terrorists from the Gaza Strip, mainly Hamas, but also Palestinian Islamic Jihad. They raided those localities. They killed everyone in their path. The death toll at this point stands on over 1,400 people killed during that day. And the number of wounded people stands at thousands of people being wounded. Hundreds, close to 200 people have been kidnapped by Hamas took them with them back to the Gaza Strip. And the pain in Israel is unbelievable. The pain and rage following these horrendous terror attacks, where again they spared no one. They spared no one in Israeli territory, whether it was a Jewish person, a Christian, Muslim. They killed everyone. During the raid, they encountered hundreds of people or thousands of people that were celebrating in a party, celebrating life and music and peace. They killed over 260 people, young people celebrating life. They were slaughtered. Again, they infiltrated into homes and they killed people in their shelters, babies in their cribs, toddlers, women, children, elderly people, sparing no one. And this is a massacre that we have never ever seen in Israel. We have never ever seen since the establishment of the State of Israel. Actually, ever since the Holocaust, we never had that number of Jewish people killed in one day. And Hamas, the terror organization, revealed their true face. If there was not clear to anyone before, it is absolutely clear now that their entire goal is to kill as many Israelis, as many Jewish people in Israel, and by the way, all over the world, as many as possible. And this is what their aim. It's not about fighting for liberation. It's not about standing up for the goals of the Palestinians.
Your Excellency, please hold your thoughts for me. I just
Sure.
want to understand what is leading to all this. Is there any background story to this? Because dates back, there have been back and forth wars with the Israeli and then the Arabs and all that. Can you brief me on that? Then we can continue from where we left off.
Of course, the conflict between Israel and Palestinians is decades long. Some would even say that it is a century long. It is very complicated to describe, but I will try to do so in a few short lines, at the risk of not touching each and every element and each and every fact of this very complex situation. Basically, the Israel is the homeland of the Jewish people. At the turn of the 19th century, towards the 20th century, more and more groups in the Jewish people decided and have understood that the only true liberation, the only true future for the Jewish people that have suffered 2,000 years in exile, the only true future for the Jewish people to survive is to go back to its homeland and establish a Jewish state.
Okay.
Which we have worked on doing very hard. But when we started going back to the Jewish homeland, the land of Israel, there was also Arab population.
Okay.
Many struggles, many disagreements, some agreements between us and the Arab population. Lands were purchased from them. At the end of a very long process, a UN committee decided on a partition plan, dividing the territory between Israelis and Arabs. The Jews in Israel accepted the partition plan. The Arabs did not. What followed was a declaration of war by both the Arab population in Israel and 7 other entities engulfing, surrounding Israel. That was in 1948, and that was the War of Independence. At the end of the war, there was a territory that was declared the State of Israel. But most of actually all of the Arab neighbors to Israel did not accept this outcome. By the way, although a Jewish state, an Israeli state, was declared, there was never a declaration of an Arab state. And the territories that were destined by the UN committee officially to become a Palestinian state were taken over at the West Bank by Jordan and at the Gaza Strip by Egypt. Moving really fast forward, there were a couple of wars fought between Israel and its Arab neighbors, and eventually Israel, after 1967, we were in control of the West Bank and in control of the Gaza Strip. The West Bank is a different story altogether because there, eventually following 1994, we had the Oslo Accords with the Palestinians, and Palestinian Authority has been established, and it is in control of Palestinian population in the West Bank. The situation there is very complex and not as nearly close to peace as we would like to see, but we'll leave this situation aside. With the Gaza Strip, Israel was in control of the Gaza Strip up until 2005. In 2005, we have decided to clear all Israeli presence from the Gaza Strip, both military and civilian.
Okay.
We cleared each and every Israeli presence from the Gaza Strip, including our graveyards. We took the dead with us from their graves back to Israeli territory and we gave it to the Palestinians. That's yours. 2007, Hamas overthrown the Palestinian Authority control and took control of the Gaza Strip as a terror organization that is now in control of everything and anything that happens in the Gaza Strip. Immediately afterwards, they started shooting rockets at Israeli territory indiscriminately. This led to all kinds of escalations where a couple of times since 2007 until a week ago, there were all kinds of military operations trying to deter Hamas from continuing their ongoing assault on Israel. That was true up until last week. Last week was a carnage again. Like, we've never seen any signs of such savagery, such brutality, of women being raped. We talked about women and girls.
Yes,
We'll touch that later.
Yes.
But again, children being slaughtered in their homes, people being burned alive. It's these horrific scenes demonstrated that Hamas is no entity to find any kind of reconciliation with. We now say openly Hamas is the same as ISIS, where no one in the free world, be it the West or Arab countries, was ever expected to reconcile with ISIS. No one could negotiate with them over anything. It was very clear that ISIS need to be eliminated, and there was no question about it. The same goes for Hamas, and if you need any more proof, they even brought with them into Israeli territory some flags of ISIS to inflict more terror. So there's no negotiations, there's no reconciliation, there's no end to this suffering unless we defeat Hamas completely. And again, even to this point, they keep on trying to raid Israel. They keep on firing hundreds of rockets on Israeli territory indiscriminately, trying to hit whatever they can and kill as many people as they can to this very point.
Does what has happened in the past have a link with what is happening currently? Because if you get a story from the past and now, and the intensity of what is happening, does it have any link together?
I'm really not sure. I mean, of course, everything is linked, yes? I mean, Hamas was able to grow in numbers and in facilities and in arsenal, and they are holding, to this very day, a huge caches of weapons. They were able to build, they were growing stronger and stronger through the years, being financed very heavily by Iran, and also receiving from Iran training and directions, instructions. So yes, through the years, despite the certain military operations that Israel held in the Gaza Strip, Hamas was still able to grow stronger up to the point where we saw this attack last Saturday on October 7th that will be forever burned in Israeli reality as in history, as an event that is not only unprecedented, but really this is something that we cannot allow to ever happen again. And we say that this is an experience where Israel is now waged war on Hamas, is attacking Hamas in the Gaza Strip, its facilities, its offices, its weapons, everything. But Israel is fighting the war against Islamic extremism the same way that the world is facing this extremism in the Sahel. It's the same kind of threat in some places in the Middle East, the same kind of attacks we've seen by ISIS on Europe, on the US. The war that we fight is the war that the liberal, peace loving world that has a moral compass, that has humanity, is fighting against inhumanity, savagery, and fanaticism. So we know that it's not just about the war that we have vis-a-vis the Gaza Strip, Hamas, not the Palestinians, Hamas specifically and other terror entities. But this will have an impact on other players and other regions. And we expect the international community to support us in this war, in this fight that will benefit all peace-loving countries. And this is a good chance. I seize this opportunity to thank Ghana for very strong support to Israel, for condemning Hamas as a terror organization. And this was officially said by Ghana, and we are very grateful for that.
But the impact is very devastating. And I would like us to go back a bit and talk about what women and children are going through, because if you see what is going around on international media and across, it's very heartbreaking. What can we do about it?
I understand the sentiment because this is war, and you don't have nice, beautiful, clean wars. Wars are violent, they're ugly, they're messy. You cannot have a nice image of war. We need people to understand that our war is not against the civilian population. We are, first of all, we are being extremely careful as a law-abiding country to conduct this war according to the provisions of international laws of war. We are being extremely careful to go along these provisions and to um, not make any kind of damage that is prohibited. And we try to protect or to avoid harming the civilian population in Gaza. We have warned the people in certain neighborhoods about attacks that will take place in day X and day and time. So they would have time to clear and not be hurt. And we have called upon the population in northern part of Gaza to move southward to avoid the attacks. Now Hamas, that is the ruling entity at that territory. This is the government of these people. Hamas is blocking its own people from moving, its own population from moving south because they need them to remain in the north part of the Gaza Strip to continue their position as human shields. Hamas is using its own population as human shields, and this is a war crime on top of everything else that they're doing to hurt Israelis. They're hurting their own population. They stoop so low as to steal fuel and provisions from UN hospitals within the Gaza Strip. They raided and stole and took fuel that could have, of course, benefited the needs of the hospital, was taking care of the population in Gaza. They could use the fuel for facilities of desalination of water that they have in the Gaza Strip. to use for their own power plant. But Hamas is taking the fuel to use for their own needs as a terror organization. If you look at the weapons that they have brought with them to Israel on that raid on Saturday, thousands and thousands of rockets, RPGs, assault rifles, mines. If you think about all this weapon, how much does this cost? What could have been done with that kind of money? We're talking about millions, by the tens of millions and hundreds of millions of dollars. What could have been done to benefit the people that are living in Gaza? But Hamas has no interest in that. They have only interest in arming themselves and trying to kill as many people as possible. More Israelis, very good. If there are Palestinians being killed, they don't care.
In all this, what is international organizations saying, like the UN and all that? And what have been your thoughts about what they are saying or doing? What is your perspective on all these?
Well, it's clear that the UN is trying to make sure that civilians will not be hurt, and they're doing all kinds of efforts. A very good number of UN agencies on the ground in the Gaza Strip, and I'm sure they're doing the best they can. I think that there's currently some effort being done to have to convince some kind of a regional summit to see how things could be de-escalated. But basically, what we're saying is that, and we see that, of course, there's a very strong U.S. support to Israel, because the U.S. and many other countries, by the way, many European countries and all over the world, they see and they understand not only the Israeli suffering, and again, we are still in the process of identifying bodies that were burned or mutilated beyond recognition. We still have hundreds of bodies waiting to be identified. We cannot bury them until then. So we still have people missing that no one knows what is their fate, because we don't know if they're lying dead in some ditch or were taken to Gaza. There are no details given by Hamas on the people that they kidnapped. So we're still dealing and facing the consequences of what happened on that Saturday. We're still in the midst of fathoming this experience that is really cruelty beyond comprehension. So many friends all over the world understand that, many friends of Israel, and they understand the need of Israel to destroy Hamas. So, but they are just supporting Israel. There are no other forces at play, and we are determined to destroy Hamas to a point where they will never be able to attack Israel ever again.
Your Excellency, this is a very tough question, but I want to still ask you here where you sit. Will this ever end?
That's I think that's a very tough question indeed. Israel is a peace-seeking country, peace-loving country. We want to have peace. We have tried many times to reach a peace agreement with the Palestinians. It is complicated. It's never simple. At the end of the day, in order to reach peace with the Palestinians, both sides will have to make very difficult concessions, very difficult decisions. And I would like to believe that we will have peace, but we will have peace with a Palestinian government or Palestinian Authority that seeks peace, that would like to see peace and prosperity to their own people. With Hamas, you cannot reach that. That is not on the agenda at all. And there's no reconciliation with the devil. But I do believe that we will reach peace. And first of all, you have to be optimistic, even in the Middle East. And second, I always remind people that in the 50s, we had a couple of very fierce enemies in the Middle East. And on top of them was Egypt. Egypt was the most dangerous enemy to Israel. And if you would say to an Israeli 50s or the 60s of the 20th century that one day Egypt will be the first country to have a peace accord with Israel, no one would be able to even imagine that.
You least expected.
The least expected. Eventually, Egypt was the first country to have peace with Israel in the Middle East of all the countries, our main enemy. And this peace has lasted ever since 1979, through thick and thin, because both sides understand how important this peace is to the national security and the interest of both Israel and Egypt. And that's why I say that I do believe that we will have peace one day, because we see things that once were thought to be impossible become a reality. So I would like to remain optimistic despite everything that we have been through.
Finally, as we get towards conclusion, we didn't really touch on the issue of women and girls, in as much as everything is affecting them drastically. And maybe you can add up to your final thoughts or final comments on what is happening and what we seek to look for and expect, because we were expecting that one day, that day, peace will prevail and then matters will settle. Then we can move forward as a country in the Middle East and we will not have these issues recorded again.
We all pray to God that this will indeed happen and happen soon. Women and children usually are the ones to be worst affected by conflicts and wars. We've seen this, unfortunately. It's really difficult for me to talk about this. I think of the numbers of women that have been raped on this on that Saturday, about the children. Sorry, it's really difficult for me to elaborate more, but we just witnessed yesterday a clip released by Hamas of one of its captives, a girl. I think she's not even, maybe she's 18, I don't remember her age precisely. She's been wounded, so Hamas shows in the clip that she's being treated, she has medical treatment, and then she speaks to the camera and she says, her lips say, "We're okay, I'm okay, I've been treated." But you see in her eyes the terror. It's just, sorry, it's heartbreaking, and she is one of so many women and girls and children that are currently being captive by Hamas, by the Islamic Jihad in the Gaza Strip, and we have no way of knowing about their well-being, if they are treated, if they are. I'm sorry, it's really difficult to continue.
Yes. I don't know if you can still have a final say to the world and then to the citizens in Ghana and back home. And this is your camera. If you have a message out there, it's my apologies, sincere apologies. apologies. So if you, that is if you have, if you don't have, then call it a day. I'm so grateful for speaking to you. If you don't, do you have a final word to say to the international world, but people at home, and then Ghanaians as well? Do you have something to say?
Yes,
Okay, so that's your
and
comment.
thank you, Georgina, for this. I would like to ask for the continuous support of Ghana, of Ghanaians. We have received official and also private messages of support and love and sympathy from so many Ghanaians during the last week. And we ask for the continuous support of Ghana and Ghanaians. We need that. We need Ghanaians to pray for Israel, to pray for our strength, our resilience, to pray for peace. And we appreciate all the prayers and good thoughts that you have already dedicated to Israel. We have to fight this war because that is the way we have to fulfill our obligation to protect our citizens. It is the right and obligation of every country, and this war on Hamas is our fulfillment of this obligation. We ask for your understanding, we ask for your support, and we appreciate everything you have done so far. Thank you so much.
Your Excellency, we're so much grateful for your time and thank you for sharing your thoughts and comments. We are with you in this difficult time.
Thank you, I really appreciate that. And, I wanted to share with you
More.
some clips that we may share with people to demonstrate the horse. If you, I don't know. Okay.
That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. But that will be after I
Yes.
get to them. I'll add it to it. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you, Georgina.
We've been speaking to the Israeli ambassador to Ghana, Her Excellency H.E.Shlomit Sufa. She has been telling us the overview of what is going on in Israel and the devastating impact on women and children. In fact, at this point, we have come to realize that peace is the most expensive commodity in the world. And in whatever you do as a person, try as much as possible not to erupt war. My name is Na Anyama Collison.
When trouble blows.